Okay, so welcome to the second class in the study of the fourth chapter. So in the last class, we saw about Janma. So Patanjali outlines, Patanjali uses the first sutra to connect the previous chapter on Siddhis to this chapter. And it's Janmaushadhi mantra tapas samadhija siddhayaha. These Siddhis are born from birth and other things. And now Patanjali is focusing on the birth. And he says the transformation into how does this birth happen? Transformation into another species is accomplished by filling in of the Prakriti. And then he says that the Prakriti, it's like pressurized water. It just flows. And he says these, the flow, it happens merely by removing the obstacles. So if you clean up the mind, he says, Prakriti will flow in and all good things will happen. All you need to do is not to, you don't have to force Prakriti. You just need to clean the mind, remove the obstacles. And then he says the problem is not that the mind itself will cause bad karma. It is all the saṃskāras. And he gives a strange example of created minds. He says created or artificial minds, they arise from this asmita. And if the source is a pure mind without saṃskāras, then the created minds also will not cause any more karmic residues. Therefore, what Patanjali is trying to say is, if the mind is free of these bad vāsanās, it won't create, or free of vāsanās, the free of saṃskāras, it won't create these extra new karma. And so Patanjali uses this example, and then now he is going to go into the topic of karma. So we saw Janma, and slowly is trying to connect it with karma. So there are two terms we saw in this regard. Don't know where everybody else is. So, okay, I'll just keep an eye if people are having difficulty getting in. We saw two terms, saṃskāra and vāsana. Saṃskāras is all the latent or active imprints on the mind. Vāsanās are those which are active, which means they have the suitable conditions. So if you have certain food, let us say, and it's hot outside, then you can smell the food, right? If it's cold, you don't. So it's like that. When the conditions outside are right, then these vāsanās become, some of these saṃskāras become active. And that is the one which impels you to do certain actions. Okay. So far, is that clear? Saṃskāra and vāsana? Are there any quick questions here before we go into the next one? Okay. Then Patanjali talks about the karma of the yogi. Karma shukla krishnam yoginas trividamitaresham. He says karma shukla. It's not so karma ashukla akrishnam. So it becomes karma shukla krishnam. Karma of the yogi is neither white nor black. For others, their karma is of three kinds: white, black, and gray. So white is shukla karma, black is krishna karma, and gray is mishra karma, mixed karma. So the karma of the yogi, for a yogi, it is neither white nor black. There is no karmic residues of the actions. It does not create saṃskāras. Okay. So that is what Patanjali, they leave no imprints. Yogi's karma leaves no imprints. Okay. And yes, Amy, you have a question?
Yes, sorry. Could you just repeat what the white, black, and gray
Yes.
are?
So yeah, Shukla karma is the white karma, which is good action. So they cause punyam. And black Krishna karma is the one which demerits bad actions, which creates papam or sin. Punyam is merit, papam is sin. And most of our actions fall in the middle. Some, it's mixed. So it's some good intentions, bad, everything is there. And for a yogi, even that punyam, it is wiped out. So they do it at a higher level. There's no sense of I involved. For some others, I want to do good things so I can get merit. So they do good things and they reap the benefits of the good things. Whereas when a yogi acts, there's no sense of I. It is just done for the sake of doing. There's the I is not there. So it doesn't even leave a good imprint on you. So the yogi finally, the slate is clean. If the slate is not clean, there's a further rebirth. And they may go to the heavens. Even if your slate is full of good karma, go to the heavens, exhaust, and then you have to come to earth and then get liberated if you don't end up doing any bad karma in that lifetime or any other karma in the lifetime. So that's what it is. Is it clear?
Yeah, that's clear. Is it just detachment, or is it more a sense of knowledge of self?
Yes, sense of knowledge of self, because
Yeah.
I is not the doer. This is the question you are asking. Who is the doer? So the doer is, in the Bhagavad Gītā, Bhagavan very clearly says, it is the gunas that cause the actions.
Mhm.
It's a very tricky point. I'll try to explain it later. But the I, the consciousness, that is the only sentient thing that does not do any action. Consciousness just illumines everything. And in the illuminant presence, if your mind is like a dark forest, things are not very clear. You mistake shadows, so you do all the wrong things. There's distortion. Whereas if the mind is like a nice reflecting lake, then things are clear. So the gunas, it's the prakriti. That's what we are composed of. But in the light of the consciousness, the mind can act and clean up that slate. That is the unique power of the human mind.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was reviewing those Bhagavad Gītā slides, and it's like it could be such a long conversation, so I won't ask more questions here. But yeah, thank you. It's clear.
Okay. So in the Bhagavad Gītā also, there are many verses talking about this, how not to perform actions, how to perform actions. In fact, in the Bhagavad Gītā, so it's very sensational. Where does it take place? In the battlefield. And what is Krishna asking Arjuna to do? To go and kill all these enemies. So, and how you have to do it without the sense of doership. So he says, Sukha dhukke same krutva labha labho jaya jayo tatho yuddhaya yujyasva naivam papam avapsyasi. Sukha dukkhe same krutva, having made pleasure and pain the same. Labha labho, that is gain and loss the same. Then jaya ajaya, victory and defeat the same. Engage in battle, you will not incur any sin. Okay, then another verse. All these are in the second chapter. Esha te bihita sankhe buddhi yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. He says, I have taught you the wisdom of Sankhya, that is the knowledge of the self. Now hear the wisdom of yoga. Endowed with this wisdom, where how you act without the sense of doership, you will cast off the bondage of karma. And then finally in the 18th chapter, Bhagavan says, Yasya naham kruto bhavaha buddhirasya na lipyate hatvapi saiman lokan nahanti na nibadhyate. Those whose notion is I am the doer, whose intellect is not tainted, even though they kill these people, they do not kill. They are thus not bound by karma. So powerful statements. And we've seen the story of Bharata. Bharata was a great king. Towards the end of his life, he wanted to meditate, understand the self, and he wanted to get liberated. So everything was going well. He was meditating 20 hours a day. But one day he sees a lion chasing a deer, The deer was pregnant, and when it was trying to escape the lion by jumping across a stream, midway it gave birth, and the young deer falls into the water. So Bharata rescues the deer. The problem is he gets attached. So even the last moment of his life, he was thinking about the deer, and he gets born next lifetime as a deer. And then it took him one more birth to completely eliminate all those saṃskāras and get liberation. Okay, so next sutra, fructification of karma. Tatastat vipākānugunānām eva avipyaktir vāsanānām. From these three types of karma, only those vāsanās fructify which have favorable conditions to manifest. So, tataha, from those three types of karma, tat vipākaha, vipāka is fruits, tat vipākaha, those fruits, so you have to read it as tat vāsanānām eva vipāka anugunānām avipyaktihi. Okay. So, anugunānām means following the favorable conditions. Gunas is guna, anu means follow. So, only those fructify which have the favorable condition of those vāsanās, subliminal impressions. Avipyakti, so avipyaktihi means, it means to manifest. Okay, avivaktam is manifestation. Avivaktam is totally manifest. So from these three types of karma, only those tat vasanānām eva avivaktihi, what kinds of vasanas will get manifested? Vipāka anugunānām, means those who have the favorable conditions. Anugunānām vipāka, they will yield fruits which have the favorable conditions. Okay, so now we will look into the three types of karma. We've already touched this in the second chapter. So in the second chapter, there was a sutra called Heyam Dukkhamanagatam. This is the motto, the logo in the Krishnamacharya Yoga Mandiram. This is the logo that's inscribed. Heyam Dukkhamanagatam, suffering that has not manifested is what is to be avoided. So usually this is likened to a hunter's arrows. The arrow which is set in motion is the Prārabdha karma. It's already left the bow. There's no, it will go and do what it needs to do. Okay, the arrow that has hit the target is karma that has done its purpose. It's gone. The arrow in the quiver is the sañcita karma. That is the whole full load that of bag of karma that you have. Okay. So that is the analogy to the hunter's arrow. So Prārabdha karma is previous lifetime karma whose fructification has already started. That is why the body is called karmajam. It is born due to karma. Ja means born. It is due to karma. No escape from this karma. It is exhausted only after experiencing. So even for a wise person, a jnani, that person has to experience this before getting liberation. It cannot be altered or destroyed even by the dawn of knowledge. It must be exhausted entirely through experience. Okay, once in flight, this archer has no control over the arrow. It will only stop when it hits its targets or exhausts its momentum. It is the direct cause of the current physical embodiment, the sthula shariram. It determines the immediate environment, the lifespan, and the specific spectrum of pleasure and pain the jiva must navigate in this lifetime. Okay. Then the sañcita karma, all accumulated karma which has not yet fructified. This can be dissolved by attaining self-realization. This is very important. This karma, Prārabdha karma, you can't do anything about it. But the arrows in the quiver, the hunter can decide whether to use them or not. So by knowledge, the hunter can choose not to use those arrows, and he can just cast them. They can just be dissolved, or the hunter casts them away. It can be dissolved by attaining self-realization. Then the third type of karma, āgāmi karma, impelled by the karmashaya, the leftover desires, the vāsanās. We perform actions in this lifetime which will add more karma to the stockpile. Some of them can fructify in this life, but a lot of them will fructify in future lives. So if Prārabdha is the arrow in flight, āgāmi karma represents the new arrows the archer is currently forging and placing into his bow for future use, or placing in the quiver for future use. So either the archer is getting ready to, he's knocking the arrow on the bow, or he's just getting new arrows and keeping it in his quiver. So this is the āgāmi karma. So are the three types of karma clear to everybody? Anu, Leena?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Ganesh.
Okay. All right. So next comes a story. So the story is to illustrate the fact that these vāsanās that are there, they'll only manifest when the conditions are right. What in the story you'll see is when a person becomes an animal in the next lifetime, then the human tendencies may not manifest. So this story is from Bhagavatam, and it shows this. So King Nriga is a monarch of the Ikshvaku dynasty, renowned for his unparalleled generosity. It was said that he had given away as many cows to the Brahmanas as there are grains of sand on the earth or stars in the sky. So this is how the Bhagavatam likens his generosity. One day, a cow that had already been gifted to a Brahmana, a priest or a scholar, wandered away and accidentally mingled with the king's own herd. Because the cow was given, cow wanted to join its friends, so it accidentally mingled back. Unknowingly, King Nriga gifted the same cow to a second Brahmana. When the two Brahmanas realized the mistake, a bitter dispute arose over the rightful ownership of the cow. The king humbly offered them hundreds of thousands of new cows in exchange for the disputed one. But both stubbornly refused, and they cursed the king for his negligence, decreeing that he would be transformed into a chameleon. Because they thought he was cheating, he was changing colors. That's they misunderstood. He was actually a noble king. So they got upset and they cursed the king to become a chameleon. Instantly, the glorious King Nriga fell from his royal status and took the body of a chameleon trapped at the bottom of a dry, dark well, some corner, abandoned well. So he fell down there. It's a dry well. In accordance with this, the Sūtra, the moment he entered the body of this lizard, his majestic human vāsanās, his deep knowledge of statecraft, his generosity, his royal bearing, they were all entirely suppressed. The physical vehicle of the chameleon was not conducive to the royal vāsanās of the king. Instead, the dormant vāsanās of the reptile took over. So the saṃskāras now, the reptilian saṃskāras now have a way to express through the body of the chameleon. Despite his grand past, he spent years exhibiting only the traits corresponding to his new karma, flicking his tongue, hunting insects, changing colors, and hiding in the shadows of the well. So the deeper meaning in the story is that the king had some of this, he was close to liberation, but he had these vāsanās from previous lifetimes, which were almost reptilian. So the way it was worked out, it's not like those brahmanas, they cursed him because of they didn't know. They knew this, that the king has to exhaust the vāsanās. So this was like a quick path for the king to exhaust the vāsanās and go towards liberation. So then years later, Krishna visited the well and he touched the chameleon with his divine hand, and the lizard body was immediately transformed into the King Nriga, and he emerged in a radiant celestial body. His noble and devotional vāsanās instantly manifesting once again, and he offered prayers to Krishna. This is a long stuti where he thanks Bhagavan Krishna. So all these Bhagavatam is full of these beautiful chants, and this is in Trishtup meter 2. Transformation of King Nriga, Bhagavatam 10th canto, 64th chapter, 6th shloka. Sa uttama shloka karabhimrishto vihaya sadyat krutak krukalasarupam santapta chami karacharu vartna swargad Bhuta Lankarana Parastrak. Touched by the hand of the glorious Supreme Lord, the being at once gave up its lizard form and assumed that of a resident of heaven. His complexion was beautifully colored like molten gold, and he was adorned with wonderful ornaments, clothes, and garlands. This is the description given in Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay, moving to the next sutra. Saṃskāras provide the continuity across lifetimes. Jati desha khala vyavahitānam anantaryam smriti saṃskārayo ekarūpatvat. Jati, desha, and kala. So these are the time. Jati is class. Desha is place, and kala is time. Vyavahitānam, being separated by class, space, and time, it looks like there's a gap, and Patanjali says that's not true. Memory and saṃskāras are one and the same. Smriti saṃskārayo ekarūpatvat. But even though it looks like they are separated, it is uninterrupted. Anantaryam. So he says the anantaryam. So api anantaryam. Even though they jati desha kala vyavahitānam. Vyavahitānam means separated. Even though they are separated by species, place, and time, they are anantaryam, which means it is uninterrupted. It is ananta. There's no break. It is this continuous, infinitely continuous. Smriti saṃskārayo ekarūpatvat, because memory and saṃskāras are one and the same. And Patanjali explains the mechanism of karmic continuity. So in the previous sutras, Patanjali stated that karma only manifests when the conditions are favorable. Sutra 4.9 answers the follow-up question. If I am born as a human now, but my next birth is a cat, and then 500 years later I am a human again, what happens to my human desires during that 500-year gap? Do they disappear? Patanjali says, no, they do not disappear. They go into a dormant storage and re-emerge instantly when the conditions match again. Smriti and samskara are ekarūpatvat. Memory and these impressions, they're one and the same. There's impressions, they're there, and when the conditions are right, it becomes like memory. You know everything. Because you are a human, you have certain instincts. If you're a cat, you have the instinct to pounce on a mouse. It's there. It just comes up. Okay? With a human, you have the human instincts that come up. Is this clear? So the three gaps between births, species, place, and time. The link between the two similar births, smriti and samskara. Samskara is the latent seed buried in the subconscious. Smriti is the conscious surfacing of the seed, becomes memory. Memory here, it also refers to tendencies. Like a cat has a tendency to pounce on a mouse, right? Like that. It instinctively, when it sees a mouse, it'll start to stalk. Like that. These surface, these memories come from these saṃskāras. They are one and the same, Patanjali says. And Patanjali is offering a hidden warning. Death does not solve your problems. You cannot simply wait out a bad habit or a desire. The only way to break the cycle is to burn the saṃskāras through the fire of knowledge. Viveka kyati. And Patanjali says that is through meditation. Is this aspect clear to everybody?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay. Then Patanjali says, saṃskāras are beginningless. Tāsāmanāditvam chāshisho nityatvad. Tāsām means of these saṃskāras, they are anāditvam, means beginningless, because the desire to live is perpetual. These saṃskāras, they are beginningless because of the desire to live. It's perpetual. We constantly have the desire to live. So, Patanjali here answers the question, if our personality traits, these vāsanās, come from past actions, when did the very first action happen? Patanjali says there is no beginning at all, because it is infinite. It's never like the desire to live did not occur. It suddenly occurred. It was always there. An effect, cause and effect. An effect, fear, trembling cannot exist without a cause. Memory of pain. Therefore, the mind has to be permeated by these desires since beginningless time. So that's what. So even a child experiences fear, right? It's going to fall. It's there. It didn't learn the fear. Patanjali says, the commentators say that it is from past, what you call as instinct, it is from past saṃskāras, from many lifetimes ago. And that's why human birth is considered very special. Durlabham, this is very difficult to attain the human birth. Okay. Okay. So, and Vyasa defines this eternal desire, as he calls it āshishaha, as a constant internal prayer that every living being repeats. May I not cease to live. May I continue to exist. To prove this, Vyasa uses the famous logic of the newborn baby. If a newborn baby who was just born, who has not experienced death or the fear of dying in the current life, still exhibits the instinct of fear. It trembles and cries when threatened. Okay, so for this, we will see the story from Yaksha Prashna. Does anybody remember Yaksha Prashna? I've told the story. Amy, Anu, Leena.
This Yudhishthira
Yeah.
talking.
Yes, Yudhishthira. So the story, during the exile of the Pandavas in the forest, the Pandavas became very thirsty, and one by one, Nakula, Sahadeva, Arjuna, Bhima went to a lake. A mysterious Yaksha warned each of them not to drink before answering his questions. They ignored him, drank the water, and fell lifeless. Finally, Yudhishthira arrived and saw his brothers lying dead. They were just lying dead, and agreed to answer the Yaksha's questions. The Yaksha then tested him with many questions on dharma, life, death, and wisdom. One of the most famous questions was, Kim Ascharyam? What is the greatest wonder? Kacha Varta Kim Ascharyam Kapanta Kashya Modate Mamaitanch Chatura Prashnan Katayintva Jalam Piba. So the Yaksha says, what is the greatest news? What is the greatest wonder? What is the true path? Who is truly happy? And having answered these 4 questions of mine, you may drink the water. So that's what the Yaksha says. And for that, Yudhishthira responds day after day. So Yudhishthira's response is, Ahanyahani bhutani gachanti yama mandiram sheshastavaram icchanti kimacharyam atah param. Day after day, living beings depart for the abode of Yama. All around you, you're seeing so many people dying. If you open the newspaper or read the news, that person died, that obituary, that so many people were killed. Yet those who remain desire to live forever. They act as though they're going to live forever. What is more surprising than this? So this desire to live, it's innate. They just don't want to think they're going to die. People, they want to live forever. The thought that one day you will die doesn't even come in. They just want to hush it away. Okay? So, people are, point is not that people are intellectually ignorant of death. Everyone knows death happens. Deeper point is that even after seeing death everywhere, the mind still carries a hidden assumptions. Others may die, but somehow I will continue. That instinctive urge to continue is not learned from one lifetime. It appears before reasoning, before philosophy, before culture. The baby, newborn baby has it. It is already present in the structure of embodied life. This is why Patanjali says, vāsanās are anadi, they are beginningless. Okay. So the yogic interpretation is, we see death, but the instinctive mind refuses to fully accept I will die. I must continue. This tendency is deeper than conscious thought. It is the root of abhinivesha. We see clinging, we saw that in the 2nd chapter, clinging to life. Avidya, ragadvesha, abhinivesha, avidya, smita, ragadvesha, abhinivesha, klesha, that we saw. This urge appears in all beings across birth. Patanjali calls this vāsanās beginningless. But beginningless does not mean endless. The next sutra says saṃskāras can cease when their supports are removed. Okay. Hetupalāśtraya lambanai sangrahitatvad eshama bhave tadabhavaha. Saṃskāras are held together by cause, motive, and ashraya, which is the basis, and also the supporting elements. These saṃskāras therefore disappear when these 4 are dissolved. Okay, let's look at the meaning word by word. So, hetu is the cause. Hetu, pala, ashraya, lambanai, sangrahitatva, state of being. Sangam means unification. Sangrahitatva means tattvam is a state of being held together. When they're in a state of being held together, esham abhave tad abhavaha. When these 4 bhavam means to manifest, to exist. Abhavam means to not exist. So when these 4 do not exist, those saṃskāras also disappear. So these saṃskāras, these imprints, something is holding that imprints. So if you look at your iPad, so you're writing something, right? And then you have this eraser, you use it to erase that. So there's something when you write, like you draw a line, the line, it's held by some electric forces and all that, right? That's how you're seeing it. And when you draw the eraser, that thing is removed. So the saṃskāras will also disappear when those supporting bases are gone. So what are the four? Hetu is the cause. The cause is the dynamic wheel of karma. From virtue comes pleasure, from vice comes pain. From karma, we accrue more virtue or vice, papam or punyam. Driver of the wheel is avidya, the ignorance. That is the first one. The second, four pillars of existence of these saṃskāras. Second is phala, includes the species one is born into. That is the jati, the ayu, and the bhoga. That is the species, the lifespan, and the experiences of pleasure or pain. This is the fruit. So this causes more saṃskāras. So the fruit, it creates, or sometimes it strengthens the existing saṃskāras. Ashraya, the substratum. So the wheel of karma, creating fruits. This is how the saṃskara, all this is a cycle. This sustains the saṃskāras. Ashraya is a substratum. On which substratum is all this happening? Where are the imprints drawn? On the mind, the chitta. Storage for saṃskāras, latent impressions, is the chitta. And then alambana, the support. So what creates these saṃskāras to become vāsanās? Like it is the external triggers, like dormant seeds. They are that are woken up by water. Water is an external trigger for the dormant seeds, like this. So we saw alambana, the support. The mind acts as the hard drive where the latent impressions sleep. If the mind itself is dissolved in Kaivalya, saṃskāras have nowhere to stay. So Vyasa's conclusions, because all saṃskāras, past, present, and future, are entirely dependent on these four factors. If you remove these factors, the saṃskāras cease to exist. They are beginningless, but they have an end. These saṃskāras, okay? Okay. Then saṃskāras contain the past and the future trajectory. So the saṃskāras, atītānāgatam swarupatos yadvabhedat dharmanam. Swarupa asti advabhedat dharmanam. So the past and future of an object or being, whatever living being, exists in the swarupa, the true nature of that object. They only differ in the trajectory of the characteristics. Okay, dharmanam. Okay, atita is past. Anagatam, plus agatam, not yet come, or the future, that which has not yet come. Agatam, that which has come. Anagatam means that which has not come. Swarupataha, they exist in the swarupa. The past and the future exists in the essential nature of the object as the exists. Adva bhedat dharmanam. But they differ in the trajectory of the characteristics. The paths differ, but the past and the future does exist. So the future, there are many trajectories. So one of these trajectories could be taken. Okay. And it's kind of, Patanjali has already talked about this in a way. If you remember, in the 16th Sutra of the 3rd chapter, this is the first siddhi. Parināmatraya sañyamat atitana gatajnanam. Knowledge of the past and the future. When the mind is discerning based on the changes in the characteristic of an object or living thing, one can determine its past and also the future trajectory. So this is an important thing. The past and the future are in the object means what? This refers to a fundamental doctrine of Sankhya. So we saw that Sankhya and Yoga are sister philosophies. Remember, we've seen that before. They are like three pairs of sisters, the different philosophies. Sankhya and Yoga, they're friendly sisters. Then comes the Nyaya and Vaisheshika, logic and metaphysics. They are friendly sisters. Then Purva Mimamsa and Vedanta, they are quarreling. Because Purva Mimamsa, it's all about rituals to go to heavens. But once you go to heavens, after exhausting everything, you come back to earth. Or about different virtues for different things. Purva Mimamsa is meant to trap one in this cycle. Vedanta is like the escape, the moksha from this cycle. Okay, so they don't get along. So what this doctrine, it's an important thing. Now we will slowly start going into the portion where yoga, Patanjali is using logic to negate other theories, specifically the Buddhist theories. The Buddhists had different theories, so Patanjali is refuting all that. And he is also refuting the Nyaya logic. Okay, so Satkaryavada, the theory of causation. This is a very important doctrine of Sankhya. It says Sat means existent, Karya is effect. Karanam is the cause, Karya is the effect. Vada is a doctrine. It states that an effect pre-exists in the cause. Karanam Satkarya Vadam. It means Karanam is the effect. Karanam is the cause. Karya is the effect. Effect pre-exists in its cause. Nothing new is ever created. It is only manifested. Nothing is ever destroyed. It is only unmanifested. Our body, which is the effect, is due to our past karma, which is the cause. That is why the body is karmajam. Okay. Future, the future result. For example, the classic examples that are given in Sankhya is the sesame oil exists in the seed. They look completely different. You have the sesame seed oil you put on your skin, and then they have the sesame seed. They don't look anything similar. One is liquid, one is a solid, but the oil exists in the seed. If the future, that is the sesame oil drop, did not exist in the seed, no amount of pressing the seed would ever produce the oil. Therefore, future exists in a potential state. And the past, similarly, when an object is destroyed and action is finished, it does not vanish into void, it simply transitions into a latent state. Swami Hariharananda clarifies the nature of existence. We usually define existence only as what we see right now. Swami Hariharananda clarifies that in yoga psychology, existence is broader. It encompasses the manifest, which is what we see, the potential, the future, and the latent impression of the past. So that is Satkaryavada. The pot, the classic example that's given is pot. So this is clay. Now, Satkaryavada says, no, the pot is in the clay. It's not manifest. It is inherently in the clay. And then the shards, once it's broken, it's all these shards are in this pot. So that is what the Satkaryavada says. And this here, Patanjali is kind of refuting the Asatkaryavada, which is the Nyaya and Vaisheshika theory. It says the effect, like a pot, does not pre-exist in the cause. It's newly produced by the potter's effort. Whereas Sankhya says, the Satkaryavada, the effect already exists in a subtle form in the cause. The potter merely reveals it. He just removes the wheel and he reveals it. So these are two theories. And then Gaudapada, who is Shankaracharya's teacher. Shankaracharya's teacher is Govindapada. Govindapada's teacher is Gaudapada. Gaudapada says, Ajativada. There was no origination at all. So there is no transformation, nothing. There's no cause. Jativada means jati, something being born. There's no birth or no cause at all. And he gives a logic defeating both these. That is the Advaita logic. Anyway, we won't get into that, but we are now coming to a place where Patanjali is going to talk about the mind and the gunas. Remember, gunas it's the fabric of Prakriti. We saw that in the third chapter. We saw that in the third chapter, the fabric of Prakriti. So gunas are the fabric, and there, let me find that slide. Patanjali says the gunas is being the fabric, and then he uses logic to refute other schools of thought. So, and he establishes the logic of the school. So remember, gunas, it is the Prakriti, what we call the Prakriti. All we are nothing but in the essential, just nature. We are just gunas. The three, like the cloth is made up of three strands here: white, this blue, and red. Like that, sattva, rajas, and tamas. Rajas is red, sattva is white, tamas is dark, dull, black. Okay, so or dark blue here. So these are the Prakriti is a primal nature, matter and energy. Gunas, that property of Prakriti which gives quality to it. You are a certain kind because of the gunas. Okay, so the next portion will be the mind and the gunas, refuting other schools of philosophy. So that we will take up in the next class.